Good morning. This is Rich Zero at the Florida Small Business Legal Center. This is episode number 11 of Business SOS. We started a few months ago. We're very excited with this show. And the purpose of Business SOS is to really talk about my book first, but also share some information with you about in more depth in some legal issues that business owners face pretty much on a daily basis, and have a discussion about that and share with you some of my thoughts about how you can handle some of these issues that you may face. In the last few episodes, we talked about lease agreements. We've spoken about partnerships. We also had various guests. We had Angela and Eve talking about the impact of divorce in a small business. We also had Deidre Nero, an immigration attorney, talking about the importance of compliance with the I-9 forms and E-Verify, how important it is to make sure the workers can work in the United States, and the importance of complying with those laws. So today, I want to talk about something a little different, and it goes into chapter number 5 of my book, Business SOS, 8 Common Legal Mistakes Business Owners Make and How to Avoid Them. This is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And the chapter number 5 talks about mistake number 5. It talks about that many business owners have a lack of understanding in how the business is going to make money and how that relates to eventual legal disputes or legal issues that come along the way. Many of my practice, and I've been doing this for 18 years, I have a number of people that approach me and say, I want to start a business. Should I get an LLC? Should I get a corporation? We can talk about that another time. Or they want to buy a business. They want to buy a franchise. And my first question to them is this your first business? Or have you been in business before? If they haven't been in business before, then they have an understanding of the chaotic nature of small business, the unpredictability of small business, so they know how to navigate those waters. If it's the first business, and many times I see there's a husband and wife that have some money in the 401k, they want to do something that maybe they're going to retire, or they want to do something different to plan for the future, and they think it's a good idea just to take money out of that retirement fund and buy a business that will help them in the future. And I'm not advising whether it's a good or bad idea. I'm saying that's just kind of the scenarios that I face frequently in my practice. So, one of the things that I see is when somebody is going to be brand new in the business, I ask a number of questions. And I'm going to go over those questions today, and it's right from my book, Business SOS. The first question is this your first business? And the answer is yes. I said, well, tell me more about this business and how far have you gotten in planning for this business? And a lot of times I say, well, I went online, I read some articles, I incorporated, we have an LLC, and this is as far as we've gone. I said, okay, so do you have a business plan? And 9 out of 10 times the answer is no. We don't have a business plan. So I want to talk today about the importance of business planning, especially if this is a brand new business for you. If you're looking to buy a business, or if you're looking to start a new business, this is really a perfect episode for you, because you should listen to this. It could actually save you mistakes along the way and save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases. And what is a business plan? Business plan, basically, it is a roadmap or a mechanism that answers some questions about how you're going to operate this business. And it starts from the basics. And again, business plans, I'm not here to basically give you a blueprint for a business plan. I'll give you some questions that you should consider in your business plan. And you can go on the web and download a business plan template. And those are fine. It doesn't have to be an MBA type business plan. It's simply a roadmap that you basically say, okay, so a question that I ask my clients, who are your customers? That's a very important question. And let me talk about an example that I usually go into, and I talk about an ice cream shop, and I do that. This is a very simple concept to explain. So, who are going to be your customers for this ice cream shop? Well, my I want to have this ice cream shop. They're going to be kids coming out of a high school. There's a high school nearby that when they get off, they basically will be able to stop by my location. Plus, there's a lot of families that a lot of neighborhoods, there are a lot of families with young children that live within the 3 mile radius. So that's an example of understanding your customers. In a restaurant, for example, you have to understand that. Who are your customers? How far are they going to drive to go to your location? If you're going to be a service business, whether it's a dry cleaning, for example, where the customers are coming from. So if you're going to have a business, you have to understand who are you going to be selling to and where they're located, how are you going to find them, and how much you're going to charge them for your services. And that's a second consideration. A question that I also ask, is this the type of business that people will go in and order the services or the products or the goods, or something you have to sell? For example, like real estate. Real estate, you got to basically sell the services, the house that you're trying to sell to a customer. And do you have the requisite skills to deliver that service, that business? Not only to deliver the product service that you are actually offering, but do you know how to sell it to the prospective customer? And selling is a skill. That's a different conversation altogether. But you need to know how to do that in order to be able to be successful in any business. And there are many sales programs out there that you can sign up for. There are many webinars, there are articles, but it's a skill that you should develop if you're going to have a business on your own. And it's a skill that you should actually have for help you in any aspects of your life. So another question that I ask my clients is, how much money are you allocating for marketing? You're a brand new business. Nobody knows about you. First of all, do you have the financing to start this business and operate it for 3 months at a loss, basically for a number of months without you begin to see some revenues and some profits? But number two, how much of that money is going to go towards marketing? And initially, the marketing push has to be greater in order to let your customers know who you are, where you're located, the services that you offer, and have them increase and have them come in and ask for your services and utilize your company, your business. Another question that I asked them is, what is your profit margin? So, and that is very important. So if you're selling, in this particular example, you have an ice cream shop, what is going to be your average ticket? And you have, whether it's ice cream shop, yogurt shop, anything that is a consumable that people go in and order on demand, what is going to be your average ticket price? And I call that the unit of service, and it's not my own term. I'm sure I got it from somewhere. But you have to understand what is your average sale, because the average sale will determine how many of those sales you will need in order to meet your expenses. And I'm going to repeat that. Your average sale will tell you how many of those sales you need to meet your expenses. If you do not know what is going to be your average ticket sale and what is going to be your profit margin on that particular product or service you're selling, then you're basically hoping that it works out. You have to understand those basic fundamentals in order to go further. And again, it is not a perfect science. I'm not going to tell you that if you say, okay, my average ticket is $100, I have a profit margin, say, of $60, so I have $40, $40 in cost. Nothing is perfect, and it's going to be a perfect science. But you need to have an idea of what are you selling, what is going to be the cost, how much it costs you, how much you're going to have for to be able to pay your expenses, how much you have profit. And the average sale, because the average sale is going to basically what I think Michael Gerber mentioned, this is the bread and butter product. You need to have something that is you're selling that will keep your lights on. So that is important to understand. And that goes into the business plan. And another question that I asked them, do you have a trademark? How are you going to be known? And what type of trade name is going to be your name? Is going to be a specific, name that you have or you made up, or you have a logo. Those are important questions to have. And also make sure that whatever name that you select or product or logo that you select is not being used or does not conflict with another company's product or service, another logo or trademark. And we will have a segment on trademark at some point, but that's another question that I ask. And another question to consider is a company that you're going to buy by yourself or you're going to have a partner. And I said, well, I'm going to have it with a partner. He's going to invest the money. I'm going to be doing the work. So do you have a partnership agreement? No, we don't have one, or we don't need one. We've known each other for a long time. And my advice to you, especially when you know each other for a long time, you should have a partnership agreement. And have in one of my episodes, I go into great depth into partnership agreements and why partnerships sometimes do not work out. And one of the reasons is that because the partners did not take the time to ask those difficult questions at the beginning and did not write a partnership agreement. And I also ask, and I make the offer again, if you're listening to me today, and I appreciate your time, if you want what I call the operating agreement questionnaire that I send my clients, so that way it's basically a list of questions that you can basically go over with your future partner that will help you develop that partnership agreement. There could be a lot more questions, but those are the questions that I use. And when somebody asks me, can you draft a partnership agreement for us? That's the question that I use, and I'm happy to offer it to you free of charge. Just send me an email at richsierra.com, and I'm happy to send it to you. Just basically put in the subject line, a partnership questionnaire. I'm happy to send it to you for listening to me. Now, you're wondering, why am I talking about business planning, selling, the average price for the product? How does that relate to legal problems? Very simple. Many startups fail, and they fail for poor planning, lack of capital, lack of knowledge. There are many different reasons why businesses fail. Business is unpredictable. And so what we try to do is basically minimize that unpredictability with some forecasting and some planning. And I'll give you an example. So you go into this business, this ice cream shop, and you get into the lease. So you want to have a retail location, you want to have a retail space that has a lot of traffic, say near a supermarket, near a retail store that comes in, a lot of traffic coming in, and those like strip malls. Here in Florida, we have Publix, and that's a big anchor store that brings people into the shopping center. Well, if you're going to have your ice cream shop or any type of like food service establishment near an anchor store, it's going to cost you money. So because that's valuable, and the landlord's there to make sure that he or she maximizes their profit from the tenants. So person goes in and say, you know what, I want to go ahead and get into this lease. Leases are very expensive. You have a build out as well. And then you find out that the unit of service was miscalculated, and you're not generating enough sales to cover that lease. And that's where you run into problems, because when you go into a lease, especially as a startup, very likely you will have a personal guarantee. Not only you will have a large deposit to put in for this lease, but also you will have to sign a personal guarantee that you're personally responsible for if by any chance the corporation or the entity that signed this lease is not able to meet the contract, does not be able to meet the lease. And then so that turns into a legal issue, because then you get evicted for failure to pay the lease, but then the landlord basically sues the corporation, which will not have no money. So in that case, there's nothing to collect. But in this case, you personally can be responsible for that lease. So how does the lack of planning translate into a legal problem? I just gave you an example. It's a very simple example. You also have vendors as well, that if you have a food service establishment, in this case, I've been using the ice cream shop, you have inventory. If you're making it there, I'm sure you have mixes you have to purchase, you have cups, you have sodas, you have waters, maybe you sell some food items as well. So what's going to happen then, you're not going to be able to pay your vendors as well. Yet you have another lawsuit as well. The lack of understanding in how the business will generate revenue, generate funds, or generate money could lead into a legal issue. Granted, we cannot prevent every eventuality, but with a proper business plan, you can also reduce the likelihood of that happening. Another question that I ask, is how much money are you expecting to make in your first year? And when I talk about that, I talk about revenue, sales, because as a startup, very unlikely that you're going to start generating revenue immediately, depending on the business, whether it's a service business or any type of service that provides goods or retail. That is important to know, because you'll have to do some forecasting. And you have to measure that forecasting, also where your cash needs along the way. So that's a question that I ask. Another question that I ask is, how do you learn about this business? It is important to know that simply because sometimes people believe that they're technicians and they can be business owners. And in some cases, I get answers, I do not know anything about this business. I saw it on the web. I thought it was a good idea to do it. There's a lot of red flags that, I ask people to take a pause, and because then not only you have to learn a new skill to be able to do the business proficiently, and then you also have to learn the mechanics and running a business as well, all as a startup. So you're talking about tremendous pressure that is placed on you if you're the startup to get this off the ground. It doesn't mean that you can't, but at the very minimum, if you don't have the requisite skills to produce the service or the product, do the service of the product that you're offering, you got to get somebody in to help you do that, and just hire that person. Question is how you're financing your business. So we went over that. It's either you have savings, working capital, or somebody's going to invest. Who are the vendors who will help you with the business? It's very important. Your vendors are your key to your business. Good vendors are very important. So as a business owner, it is important that you have good relationships with your vendors, whether there's a service business or whether it's a retail business. Those vendors are the key. They're going to provide you with the goods that will allow you to sell. If it's a restaurant, obviously you have your food suppliers, you have your liquor, you have your beverages, cleaning. There's a lot of different vendors you utilize. If you're, an accounting firm, I'm sure you have copiers, you have different electronic vendors they use. So every business has vendors. So who are they? What are they going to do for you? What are the terms of payments? So understanding who the vendors are going to be is very important. Another question that I ask that is important: do you have an accountant? And many times the answer is no. Um, I'll do it myself. I'll get QuickBooks. Nothing wrong with using QuickBooks. It's a great program. My recommendation is for a new business owner is to get an accountant. An accountant will help you ease a lot of stress because it will set a structure that your books are done properly right from the very beginning. As a business owner, you're going to have a lot of pressure. You're going to have pressure on sales, marketing, generating revenue. If you're going to have employees, managing the employees, managing the unexpected, because something will happen along the way that you were not planning to, and it will be unexpected. So an easy way to ease one of those stressors that you will face is just get an accountant and have, there are many of them that specialize working with small businesses. And this accountant can help you basically set up, your QuickBooks. A lot of now the banks are set up that the actual feeds of your bank statements automatically are sent to your accountant. So you don't even have to, like in the old days, print them out, send them out, or basically download them via PDF. The actual feeds, the Excel through CSV files, automatically sent to them. It is fed. They basically reconcile your books. It's just a very easy transition. And you know what? It's an easy fix. And it's also very cost effective as well. Because as a business owner, one of the skills that you will learn, that you will need to learn and develop, is learn the ability to delegate. If you're planning to do everything, it is not a good idea because it's just impossible to do everything. But I highly recommend an accountant if you're going to be in business, whether it's a startup or you're continuing, and an accountant can help you with setting up your books. Who else is going to be helping you with this business? It's important, whether you're going to be doing it by yourself or you're going to have employees. And a lot of times in startups I hear where I'm going to have my son and daughter help me. I'm going to have my friend help me out. Whatever, that is fine. Whatever system you're going to have, it is important to make sure to have the proper payroll systems in place, pay the proper least minimum wage, and have all that set up right from the very beginning. And your accountant can help you with that. Many business owners cut corners, unfortunately, to save costs and end up costing them later. An example of that is that, and especially in small businesses like, retail businesses or restaurants, or I'm using an example of an ice cream shop. Sometimes the owner hires, kids out of high school, and they work them for a number of hours, and then they pay them as independent contractors. And the issue with that is that when you pay someone as an independent contractor when they're an employee, then that employee eventually, says, what, I should have been getting paid overtime, and goes to an attorney, and then they find out that there was overtime that was owed to this employee, and it was not a lot of overtime. But then you end up getting a lawsuit, and then the amount of money you have to pay for the overtime that was owed, plus attorney's fees, was double or triple or even more that if you would have paid the overtime in the first place. And you also have a tax issue because you did not pay the proper payroll taxes to the federal government, and you did not pay the unemployment taxes to the state government. So it is not a good idea to cut corners on payroll simply because at some point it's going to come back. So, and that's part of the business plan. If you go ahead and do the business plan, you find out, listen, you know what? This is what I need to run my business. And I need this number of employees. I need this budget. I need this financing budget. And you don't have enough, then it might not work on paper. It might not work. When you do the simulation of the business plan, you find out you're short. It's either you have to make it up through financing or decide that maybe the business venture that you were planning to may not be worth pursuing. and that is fine. The worst can happen when you do a business plan, you do a simulation, you find out that it does not work out. You spend maybe a few hours working something on paper, but you made a decision, and that is fine too. Some things that I tell my clients is that they want to buy a business. They're very excited. They're very eager. So we have it all worked out. We did our due diligence, and they really did not. So I said, okay, listen, don't fall in love with a business. Okay? We will do some investigation. If by any chance you need to walk away from this, do it. You don't have to buy this business if it does not work out. If something doesn't seem right, just don't do it. The worst can happen, you look for another business. Some people get so enamored with the idea of buying the business that they continue the path, and I've seen it, unfortunately, with dire consequences, because they just don't have the brakes to say, listen, this might not be a good idea, but they continue. So, and as I said this before, if it does not work on paper, it will not work in real life. So you have to kind of look at that, and just the business planning process is very important. There are consultants that do that, and you can download some from the web. And maybe at some point I'll bring a guest that will specialize in helping clients and prospective business owners do business planning, and to talk about that more further. But one resource that I will give you is SCORE. And many startups that have no idea what to do with business, I refer them to SCORE, SCORE. Just basically, it is free. It's retired executives and business owners who volunteer to help prospective business owners and navigate these waters. So there are free resources on the web. There are free resources available to you. And some universities have business incubators that as well. They have students and they have other professionals that come in and volunteer as well. So I'm just sharing that with you because there are resources out there for you that you can actually tap into right now for no cost to you, that will give you some advice. And then, of course, there are professionals that you can pay for, and that is fine. But at the very minimum, you have a resource right here with SCORE that is free of charge. You can actually take advantage of that at any time. Contract. Another question that I asked is that, would you have contracts in this business? And sometimes yes, sometimes no. If it's a service business, they need contracts. And what are the contracts going to look like? If you're going to have independent contractors, in the case of, say, drivers, what are the contracts going to look like? So we talk about that. So in essence, the business planning process, it is ongoing. Once you do that initial business plan, you say, you know what, I'm going to go further with this, you're never going to stop revising that business plan because there are going to be some new things that are going to happen, new products you're going to be developing or offering. And you will always never going to stop improving or changing your business along the way. The initial business plan is simply that initial snapshot and a roadmap, but the business process is not going to end in your journey. You will continue throughout your entire business career. And as I do it in my career, and you will do it in yours. But today I wanted to at least share with you my thoughts on how the lack of planning can really turn into a legal problem. And one way to avoid that is a simple way, is to do a business plan. And if you're already an existing business, you can still do a business plan. You are where you are right now. Where do you want to go? And the next year, 3 years, 5 years, you can evaluate because you have your business, you started your business 5 years ago, circumstances and probably have changed significantly. So we are today. We have new technologies, we have new markets, we have new economic conditions. So you have to evaluate that. You're always going to be making that assessment and that evaluation in your business along the way. And there are legal issues involved. Laws change. That's what we come into play. Your business attorney. At some point, a law changes that affects your business. I'll give you one example that we went over the last episode. Is with the E-Verify, the new law in Florida that requires employers who have over 25 employees to use the E-Verification system for federal government. That was just signed, I believe, in July of this year, or 2023. So that's a law that changed. And how will that affect your business? Important to know that. So as a business lawyer, we can help you with that. In terms of my final thoughts, if you have any legal questions that you may have, and I made this invitation before, and send me your legal question to rich@richsierra.com. If I select your question, and I'll talk about it in the show, I won't mention your name. I'll send you an autographed copy of my book, Business SOS, 8 Common Legal Mistakes Business Owners Make and How to Avoid Them. And I'll talk about that, and I'll go into some in-depth discussion about the question that you sent to me. But this is episode 11. Hope you enjoyed it. And again, if you have any questions about this episode, please send me an email as well. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And if you need a referral to a consultant that helps business owners and how to do business plans, send me an email. Happy to give you a referral as well. How you can reach me? You can reach me via email at rich@richsierra.com. If you're interested in learning about the legal services that we offer at my practice, my firm, you can go to floridasmallbusinesslegalcenter.com. We're also in Facebook at FSB Legal. YouTube, if you're interested in this podcast and seeing the video as well, we're at youtube.com/@Richard Sierra. We're in Twitter at Rich_Sierra, Instagram, FSB Legal. Our phone number is 866-842-5202. Remember that Business SOS, 8 Common Legal Mistakes Business Owners Make and How to Avoid Them. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your local bookstores. If you like the show, you like this podcast, please share it with a colleague or friend. Give us a review. Hopefully it's 5 stars. And then this is also shared through the Apple Podcasts and through various algorithms with other business owners as well. Until next week, this is Rich Sierra. Remember that my goal is to help you succeed.